Being done, let me introduce myself. I'm Kurt Garrigan. I work with UNEP on buildings, both in terms of SCP, Sustainable Consumption and Production, as well as energy, coordinate the NAMA project, and work in coordinating SBCI the last several years. As many of you know, SBCI really was created to make the link between buildings and climate, and focused really on developing policies, tools, and mechanisms by which to affect climate change mitigation in the building sector. More recently, building on some of the excellent work of the Marrakesh Task Force, and you'll hear later from the former chair of that task force on sustainable buildings and construction, SBCI looked as much at resource efficiency. Because even if we solve the carbon generation from the building sector, and there are some paths established that allow you to get there in the building sector, even if that problem is solved, we still have the issue of greater resource consumption, materials, water use, waste from the building sector, and there is not yet an established path to get that to zero, similarly to the energy sector. Our first speaker is Helen Goodland, who is with Brantwood Brantwood Consulting, and is also the chair of SBCI's Materials Technical Advisory Committee.
This afternoon, I want to sort of set the context for the discussion around materials. And it's really just thinking about, first of all, why we want to talk about materials, when this morning we spent most of the time talking about the operating impact of buildings, which today, admittedly, is the lion's share when it comes to the climate impacts coming from the consumption of fossil fuels used to heat, power, light, the buildings that we build. But it is important to bear in mind that the production, the manufacture, the shipment and transportation, and the inclusion of materials into the construction project is also a very significant part of a total building impact. So it's a third of our global resource consumption that goes into buildings today. And manufacturing of building materials makes up about 10% of global energy supply, and Arab had some very good numbers on this as well. And we mustn't also forget that the waste from the construction process, the demolition and land clearing that goes on to prepare for a project will contribute also to about 30% in most countries of the solid waste stream.
So our next speaker is Roland Hunziker, who's the Director of Sustainable Buildings and Cities for the World Business Council for Sustainable Development.
So I represent the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. My name is Roland, and my area of work is buildings and cities. It's continued to expand. I was working on Semaine for a long time, then started to work on buildings, and now increasingly on cities. So these are the challenges we have. So WBCSD, we're a global association with about 200 multinational companies as our members. Our work is entirely dedicated to sustainability and business. We're a CEO-led organization, and we represent about 24 sectors, from heavy industry, oil and gas, all the way to finance, consumer goods, ICT, etc. So you probably see a few known brands on here, and all these companies are very active in WBCSD, working together on these issues. We operate under what we call the Vision 2050. This was developed by the companies in about 2009 and 10. That we need to reach a world in which 9 billion people live well within the planet, the boundary of the planet.
On a d'abord défini qu'est-ce que pouvait être un hôtel presque zéro énergie en termes de flux. Alors évidemment, ça veut dire quoi? Ça veut dire qu'il ne faut pas qu'on oublie le bon sens. On n'est pas là pour faire de l'excellence énergétique à tout prix. On est là tout bêtement pour faire d'abord un bâtiment à haute performance énergétique. Ça, c'est la première chose. Presque zéro énergie ne veut pas dire qu'il soit zéro énergie. Ça veut dire que par rapport à sa situation de référence, son départ, son point de départ, donc attention aux valeurs toujours un peu extrêmes, c'est par rapport à sa situation de référence, comment il peut s'engager à devenir très haute performance énergétique. Et enfin, on va rajouter dessus tout ce qui peut être une production. une production évidemment à partir d'énergie renouvelable. Donc d'une part, on va effacer de la demande, et d'autre part, on va compléter par un bouquet d'énergie renouvelable, et étant ainsi la définition maintenant communément acceptée de presque zéro énergie pour le terre.
Many people are thinking we should replace cement by other binders. Frequently we see people talking about a binder based in magnesium and then other things. We really have to rely in this is the earth crust composition. Cement is made by silicon, oxygen, calcium, and a little bit of aluminium and iron. And these are the most commonly found species in the earth. So we are not going to invent a totally new cement without CO2. That's not going to happen. A lot of people are talking nonsense. There are people talking about taking CO2 from the cement and piping in the ocean to use the alkalinity of the ocean to neutralize cement. And this is being referred as an excellent technology, and it's really stupid because acidic ocean is really a problem. You don't want that.